Okay, we'll call the December 5th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order, and we'll have roll call.
Kevin Skaggs.
Kathy Stallworth.
Bill Burkhalter.
Jim Newman.
All right. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes of November 7th? It's okay? All right, I thought they were, what I read was okay too. All right, well, the minutes will stand approved as submitted. All right, tonight we have before us an application from Butler's Pond Townhomes Development, and I think that's Keystone, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and it's ZB 23-013, a request by Butler Pond LLC for a variance from section 13.8.2 C point I dot D dot I was that 2 I don't know 2 of the North Augusta Development Code to allow a hanging sign with monument-style column in a residential zoning district. The application affects an area located at approximately 789 West 5 Notch Road, tax parcel number 127-00-01-074 on plus or minus 27.54 acres zoned planned development. So we'll have public hearing, and Tommy, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, ma'am. This is an application. The crux of the variance request is the development code requires for a subdivision sign, it must be a monument type sign. This, in my opinion, is not a monument type sign.
Now, explain to me the monument type sign.
You have a base, and then it's all in one structure.
It's all in one piece. I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure that I was saying that, I'm thinking the right thing, okay?
This, and they would like to have a shingle style hanging off of a brick column, so it doesn't technically fit that. Butler's Pond is just inside Edgefield County on 5 Notch Road. Give you the kind of the map of where it's at. That's the layout of the subdivision there, the townhome type construction. And this is a rendering of the sign that they would like to put in. From the planning department's point of view, it's a nice looking sign. It's just not a monument sign. So that's where we have the problem. It gives you an idea of where the sign location would be. There it is, superimposed or photoshopped in there.
Go back to that other slide, please, the one right before, okay, right, okay. Thank you.
Where they have it staked out at. Right. This gives you the sign location and the visibility if you were looking towards Murrah Road on West 5 Notch. And this is coming from the other direction. So visibility, where the sign's going to be located at, is not an issue either. And that's the view from across the street. That is it in a nutshell. And I will tell you, it's not in the code as of now. Last night, the City Council approved on first reading the revised development code, the new development code. In that development code, they struck out the requirement for a monument type sign. So if this application came in next month, it may very well have complied.
Right.
But today, under the current code, we're stuck with where we're at. You have any questions for me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If this was on a monument sign, size, scale, all that kind of stuff, I mean, is that the proper size? Would it be too big, too small, just right?
We don't have a problem with the size.
Okay. So basically, you're just missing the middle piece in the other column on the other side.
Yes, that is it, and I will tell you, that's a technical thing, and when the home builders suggested we take the monument out of the development code, they didn't get any pushback from staff. There's a lot of nice signs out there that you see for subdivisions now that aren't monument type. I think historically, and I think if you think back to the 50s and 60s, those type subdivisions, they all had the median and the monument type sign going into it. But today, we don't see that as much. So I think this opens it up a little bit by doing away with the requirement in the development code to allow developers the flexibility for nice signage. And the other side of the coin is developers want nice signs in front of their subdivisions. Otherwise, people aren't going to locate there. So, but anyway, any other questions for me?
No, sir.
And the applicant's here if you have any questions for him.
All right, does anybody have any comments? We'll open it up for a public hearing. Developer, do you want to speak to it? Oh, when you come up, please state your name and your address.
Danny Geddes, 100 Cottonwood Court, North Augusta.
All right, and please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right.
As he stated, one of our concerns with this is visibility from the roadway, being able to locate it and turn in for emergency services, that kind of thing. Doing the technical, their interpretation of a monument sign would force us to move that further back, making it less visible as you're coming up and down Five Notch Road for residents, visitors, emergency services, that kind of thing. So that's doing it this way allows us to cheat it as close as possible to the roadway, and there's some visibility issues with the sign being visible coming from the other side, particularly on Five Notch. So we're trying to, like you said, our goal is to make it look nice too, but we also want to make it visible as people pass. And this is almost identical to two or three others adjacent to it. Austin Heights is one of them that it's almost identical to that design, that style. I think it may be all brick instead of stone, but it's a very similar type sign. It's in different interpretations under different staff. So, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
What was the reason you were going to have to push the monument?
The layout and topography there, having to, while the column structure could kind of stay out towards the roadway, it's pushing the physical sign, the Butler's Pond physical sandblasted sign further back. So there would be a column there, but once you realize you passed Butler's Pond, it may be too late because of that.
Wouldn't be pushed back
That identifier would be pushed back.
And you're not having a planted median because
It's that
narrow?
I wasn't part of this approval.
I mean, I know it's
You weren't
not
part of this?
required.
It's not required.
I know, but
in-
it's.
Probably not wide enough.
That's
Right.
what I'm.
That's
Not wide enough, right?
That's a difficult space right there in that entrance. There's not a lot. There's some topography there and
Now,
some
is
fill.
this going to be the only entrance?
Yes.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Anything DOT need to be approved in, or?
No, sir.
All right, Bill?
Just curious question. Does the road have a name yet?
It does. Beautiful Pond Park.
Beautiful Pond?
Beautiful Pond Park. It's one of Aiken County's.
That's what it says on here, beautiful pond park.
I've seen
And there is a pond there, or?
There is a pond there. The city, you guys are, it may or may not have heard, the county is very particular and peculiar in their road names, so.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have any
I'm good.
questions here? All right, thank you very much. There are 10 things that we have to approve in the,
Need to close the public.
no, close the public hearing now, thank you. There are 10 things we have to approve in order for this variance to be granted, and I'm gonna read them, to you. I'll read them into the program, of the minutes. An unnecessary hardship exists. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property, and the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation of potential for the creation of excessive light, noise, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. In the approval of an application for a variance from the provisions of Article 13 signs regulating the size, height, appearance, and location of a sign, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall also find that no alternative signage solution that complies with the provisions of Article 13 is available and would provide adequate visibility, recognition, and understanding. Number 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land. C, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. 9, the fact that property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. In granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. Based on these findings of facts, the Board of Zoning Appeals may approve with conditions, or deny the request. All right, any questions? Let me see if I can get myself in order here. This all fell over, just as I was walking out the door, it all fell out. All right, let's go over the first one. An unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant states that the unnecessary hardship they face is that a traditional monument design, as shown as an example in the development code, is typically used with a planted median. The applicant states that if they were to use the traditional monument sign without a planted median, they would have to push the sign farther back into the entrance, which would create further sign visibility and safety issues for visitors, emergency personnel, and city services located in the neighborhood, and not having enough time to safely reduce speed and turn into the neighborhood, particularly coming from the Murrah Road side of West Five Notch. Staff notes that the proposed location of the sign is near the entrance of the subdivision, with views shown in photographs looking towards Murrah Road and toward Walnut Lane. All right, what say y'all on that one?
I think the hardship, I agree that there's a unnecessary hardship. And I kind of agree with the interpretation that this is a monument sign, what they proposed. I mean, I did internet searches and this is one of the things I found.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it's just interpretation, but
Well,
I
that's
agree
what
with
I
that.
did the same
I agree
thing,
with
and that's
that.
why I asked you, Tommy, y'all's definition of monument sign.
Well, when you look at our code, there's a picture there that shows a monument sign.
So the hardship is this specific monument sign with hanging sign is this variation of it is not included in the code.
Correct.
So I say that's the hardship.
I agree.
I also agree that, you want recognition, and Five Notch Road has a lot of traffic and a lot of traffic that's traveling pretty speedily. And there's a little advantage to having the signage as close to the right-of-way of that road as you can, without unnecessarily obstructing the view, especially the other way, and I think that this sign accomplishes that.
Well, and especially, as I think you said, coming from Murrah Road. If it was in a planted median, then you'd be on both sides, you could see it. But I think you don't see it from Murrah Road. Or it'd be very difficult to. So I'm okay with that one,
Me too.
all right? There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The applicant states that the approved plan by the city does not include a planted median entrance, thus creating the potential for limited visibility of the entrance sign, which could create unsafe conditions for visitors trying to locate the entrance. In this case, a larger monument sign as shown in the picture will require it to be set further back in the entrance in order to create space and more conducive topography for such a sign. And staff notes that planted medians are not a requirement, and as we said, that's a fairly narrow place, a narrow entrance there. What do you think about this one?
Say the extraordinary and exceptional conditions are the fact that the planning department's interpretation doesn't view that proposed sign as a monument sign. It's not specific in the code, and the planning department doesn't view it as a monument sign, so that was our.
And since the planted medians are not a requirement, they don't have to have one, and it's narrow, so it would be difficult to put one there. I'm okay. Jim and Bill, what do y'all think
I'm
about that?
good with it.
I'm okay with it.
Do-
That particular item doesn't have that strong an application to this.
Right.
To me, anyway, but I do think that, especially being off Five Notch Road, there's a hardship to some extent if you gotta, move the sign back further.
The conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that other properties within 4 miles of the Butler Pond site have similar designs to what we have proposed, all of which were approved without variances from the BZA. Now, I was confused about that. Staff notes that Thomas Place, Austin Heights, and Woodstone subdivisions have similar monument-style subdivision entrance signs in near proximity to the subject site. But they didn't have to come before us, Tommy, that's correct, right?
As far as I know, they did not. It was before me.
So that was interpreted as being okay.
It was interpreted,
Being okay.
yeah.
The sign and not,
And all
Neighborhood
those
is-
subdivisions are in the city?
As far as I know, yes.
And Butler's Pond is annexed into the city, is that correct?
It was developed in the city, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I mean, you ride out there and they're all over the place, so,
I agree with that. I'm good with 3.
all right. Because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The applicant states that the signage restriction limits the ability to place signage as close as possible to West Five Notch Road and more easily and timely locate the neighborhood entrance. This is a safety concern for emergency personnel as well as visitors locating the entrance soon enough to safely slow and complete a turn. Staff notes that a monument-type sign would need to be set further back to reduce possibility of obstruction at the intersection.
I would agree, the signs would be so much bigger, you won't be able to see around it.
Right,
Put it in that location.
that's right.
And I think it's reasonable to view this proposed sign as a monument sign.
I think you're right. Why was you up there on staff when they came in? Number 5, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to additional property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. I don't see any problem with that one at all.
Me neither.
6, if the in the approval of an application for a variance from the provisions, Article 13 signs regulating the size, height, appearance, and location of a sign, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall also find that no alternative signage solution that complies with the provisions of Article 13 is available and would provide adequate visibility, recognition, and understanding. The applicant states that this variance request is not related to size or height, but rather interpretation. The applicant states that this is a consistent design with the 3 relatively recent nearby neighborhoods and will provide an attractive appearance and the safest, most easily identifiable solution for this neighborhood in this situation. Staff notes that the proposed sign meets the size and height requirements, but is not a monument type sign as required by the development code. Well, I think that's a matter of interpretation from the staff because we have the others that are, so Tom.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct, but the interpretation is not appealed to the BZA. That's not a
Right.
matter before y'all tonight.
That's right, that's right.
And I would also refer you to page 13-7 in the development code where it shows what the monument type sign is. And staff's interpretation is consistent with what is
That-
shown
with
there.
that, what is shown, right.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. But it's,
I think that the language in the number 6 helps us out because this provides the most adequate visibility and recognition of the interpretations of the monument sign. And I think that because of that, I'm okay with number 6.
I was thinking about this being out there, that if you don't see it and then you see it, slam on brakes. And that's not a good place to slam on brakes. Oh, so we all right with number 6?
I'm good.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Number 7, the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. This does not, not looking at that. To provide physically a non-conforming use of land, we're not looking at that. And then, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map, and we're not doing that either. So we're okay with, number 7 also. If the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance shall not be granted. The applicant states that the hardship is not self-imposed. Staff notes that the application concerns are design and safety of the signage in reference to the location of the sign.
I agree with that.
Everybody okay?
Yes.
You okay? I think that is okay. And my favorite one, the fact that property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. This truly is not, for more profitability, I think. I mean, that's my interpretation of it. Are you okay with that? Okay. Number 9. It's okay then. In 10, in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. This variance, if granted, this is from staff, this variance, if granted, will apply only to this property and the sign details as submitted. Should the sign need to be replaced, it should meet the requirements of the sign code in place at that time or request another variance if applicable. Staff recommends a condition of approval for the proposed sign and location to not be placed in the site triangle. Tell me what you mean.
And where they are proposing it to be is not in the site triangle.
That's right,
That if they moved it up, it could
It
be,
would
but
be.
where it is right now would be fine.
that's right. Staff is open.
That's a case of just covering ourselves.
Right. Do y'all have any conditions? Is it lit?
I think the code requires it to be externally illuminated.
Okay.
Which this sign would be, if they,
Put it there, okay. And, all right, so, motion maker?
I'll make the motion. Based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZV 23-013, Butler's Pond Townhomes entrance feature, a request by Butler Pond LLC for variance pursuant to section Article 13 signs, section 13.8.2.c.i.d.ii, signage allowed in residential usage and districts subdivision entrance signs. Of the North Augusta Development Code or monument-style variance be granted with the following two conditions. This variance will apply only to the property and the sign details as submitted. Should the sign need to be replaced, it should meet the requirements of the sign code in place at the time or request another variance if applicable. Number two, the proposed sign and location shall not be placed in the site triangle.
All right, all in favor? All right, that variance is granted.
and, Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Smith, London Smith, which will come on board in, January. He is sitting in the audience. I just point that out to you in case y'all want to reach out to him and meet him after the meeting.
All right, does anybody else have anything for the public meeting? All right, well, we'll deem the public meeting closed, and, Tommy, anything we need to know about?
No, ma'am. I think everything's good.
Okay, would you like to come down here and,